Shalom. Shalom and welcome. Welcome to the White Rose Family Channel. If you're tuning in for the first time, my name is Symmanayah, and these are the words I'm compelled to present before an awakening set-apart nation. To those who are drawn by the Almighty Creator, Yahuah, to his word that was manifest before us in the name of Yahusha. No Trinity. Yahusha represents his word manifest before us that walked among us, from the virgin birth to the sacrifice to the resurrection, and that the Almighty Father Yahuah used his name, his word, to be named Yahusha. John 14:26, when it says the Father will send a set-apart spirit, the helper, in his name, in Yahusha's name. You see, there's a continuity from Yahuah, who is spirit everywhere at all times, the Aleph and the Tah, to his manifestation of his word that he chose to provide, to bring about restoration and fellowship with him. So when we say the name Yahusha, it represents how Yahuah's word communicated with us, guides us, helps us, teaches us in more ways than one can imagine. In this segment, my brothers and sisters, of End Time Manifest, there are a lot of things to take under consideration for these last days, for the final exodus, for that final gathering, for the last days of our life, if we should indeed find ourselves as martyrs for Yahusha's name, or in situations where we see our physical life is ending before the physical return of Yahusha. There's a lot to do, a lot to be said. Managing emotions. My brothers and sisters, we're going to face a lot of destruction, a lot of death. We will see chaos. Excuse me. We'll see chaos and mass confusion enlarge among the people that are physically alive. But Yashar'al, we are in a plan that we did not create. It's a plan created by the Almighty Father. And we will learn, my brothers and sisters, why it's so important to grow strong, to grow in maturity in this walk. For all the things that we will witness will affect our emotions in many ways. From joy to sadness to anger to frustrations. It's time to have that discussion. It's time to pray, embrace ourselves for what's unfolding so that we don't be consumed by our emotions. You see, my brothers and sisters, our feelings can get in the way. Our feelings could be a distraction, could be a weight. And I'm not saying be numb or void of feelings or emotions. But what I'm saying is be prayerful and mindful of what you're supposed to be doing, we're supposed to be doing, and don't get overburdened. Because as end times ramp up, there's going to be a lot of deaths. There'll be times we won't be able to attend someone's funeral or go to someone's house to pay our respects. There was a time in Scripture when Yahusha said, let the dead bury the dead. I will present why it is important to learn how to manage emotions as I go through this subject matter, as I go through this message. Failure to manage emotions can lead to unnecessary distractions and useless weights. Case in point, you're mourning over the death of a loved one, and you feel you have to wait till all the family members come together and you have to wait till things happen. But the scriptures talk about earthquakes in diverse places, wars and rumors of wars. Some of us may feel we have to be there for the funeral. Some of us feel like we have to come together to mourn the dead. And what happens while you mourning the dead? An earthquake happens. What happens if you want to wait and gather and there are wars going on, fighting's going on, civil unrest, when the Almighty Father may be telling you to focus forward and move forward. Yashar'al, my brothers and sisters, I'm not a cold-hearted person, and nor am I insensitive. But we must understand that these earthen vessels are for a moment. Worshiping and obeying the Almighty Father is an everlasting thing. And we will not always have the convenience to entertain motions that may consume us. I want to share some words. Come with me to Genesis 43, 30 through 34. Genesis chapter 43, verses 30 through 34. It reads, and Yahusha hurried, for his emotions were deeply moved towards his brother, and he looked for a place to weep and went into his room and wept there. Then he washed his face and came out and controlled himself and said, serve the food. And they set him a place by himself and them by themselves, and the Mitzrayites who ate with him by themselves. For the Mitzrayites could not eat food with the Hebrews, for that is an abomination to the Mitzrayites. And they set before him the firstborn according to his birthright, and the youngest according to his youth. And the men looked at each other in astonishment. And he took portions to them from before him, but Benjamin's portion was 5 times as much as any of theirs. And they feasted and they drank with him. If you read the story of Joseph, his brothers sold him into slavery. And there came a time of reunion. So emotions do occur. We experience sadness, joy. It's natural, my brothers and sisters. So I am not saying that we should be cold-hearted, nor am I saying we should be insensitive. All I'm merely saying is let us manage our emotions so that they don't weigh us down, draw us into depression or a sadness we cannot keep. Or let us not get so overjoyed we forget about matters that need to be taken care of. Balanced emotions, my brothers and sisters. Managed emotions. Come with me to Matthew 26:75. Matthew 26:75, for it reads, and Kepha remembered the word of Yahusha, who had said to him, before a cock crows, you shall deny me 3 times. And going out, he wept bitterly. You see this happen. There was weeping, but it did not stop the things that must come to be. Come with me to John 11, verse 32 to 35. It says, Miriam, therefore, when she came where Yahusha was and saw him, she fell down at his feet, saying to him, Master, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. This is talking about Lazarus. Yahusha, therefore, when he saw her weeping, and the Yehudim who came with her weeping, he groaned in his spirit and was troubled, and said, where have you laid him? They said to him, Master, come and see. And Yahusha wept. He wept that they did not understand his teachings, that there was not a physical death, but that he slept. That don't underestimate the power of the Almighty Father. During these last days, we will weep over many things, Yashar'al. Do not allow them to consume you. We must not allow what is to occur to consume us. There will be times of joy, my brother, my sister. And you might say, why do I need to listen to this? As things ramp up, we're going to discover we don't have time to do too much joyous celebrations, or we won't have time to mourn too long. We will understand the importance is to discern what the Almighty Father is telling us to do and how to govern ourselves and where to go. Come with me to 1 Kings, verses 39 and 40. It says, and Sadak the priest took a horn of oil from the tent and anointed Shalum. And they blew with the shofar, and all the people said, let sovereign Shalum live. And all the people came up after him, and the people played the flutes and rejoiced with great joy, so that the earth was split by their noise. Their emotions, my brothers and sisters. I'm aware of many different emotions throughout Scripture and through our lives today. But make no mistake, if you look around, where somebody is happy, someone is sad. Where someone is angry, someone is joyous. And if we're not mindful of how we govern ourselves, we may run into someone experiencing such a sadness, they look at you as the same, like, what you so happy about? It's an opportunity to share, and sometimes there are opportunities for us to be sensitive in such a way we can show empathy to our brothers and sisters when necessary. Come with me to Nehemiah chapter 8, verse 10. Nehemiah chapter 8, verse 10. Then he said to them, go eat the fat, drink the sweet, and send portions to those for whom none is prepared. For this day is set apart to our master. Do not be sad, for joy, the joy of Yahuah is your strength. You see here? The joy. He said, don't be sad. The joy of Yahuah is our strength. So in spite of the things we go through, let us be mindful that there is something to praise the Almighty Father over. There'll be times of much heartache, my brothers and sisters. There's a time and season for all things. Come with me to Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verses 1 through 8. For it reads, for every matter that is an appointed time, even a time for every pursuit under the heavens, a time to be born, and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to throw away stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to seek and a time to loose, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for battle and a time for peace. My brothers and sisters, take a moment and reflect on what makes you sad or angry. And ask yourself, what are your expectations as end times become intense? Are you prepared mentally to do what is required? You see, the living orders, the living guidance from the Almighty Father doesn't shut off because we're sad or overjoyed. It doesn't shut down and cause us to just be still all the time. Sometimes, even when we're sad and angry, there's still work to be done, work that is important. Take a moment and reflect on what brings joy. For sometimes remembering the things that made you joyous gives you the strength to press on and press forward, gives us the strength. Yashar'al, Yashar'al, sadness or joy. We will go through emotional swings in the days ahead. There'll be those who will think we are cold-hearted and insensitive. I had a situation where it was during the time of a hurricane, and I had been speaking of Yashar'al moving towards the exit point where I believe the final exits would take place. I've spoken on many times that I believe Yashar'al in the Western Hemisphere should start moving to Virginia For I believe the Commonwealth of Virginia would be the exit point. And I've spoken to many on many occasions where movement may not happen overnight, it may happen over time. But still to date, Yashar'al, there are many who hear these words, and I know one of the hardest things to do is move. I'm going to come back to that slide in a minute. Moving is one of the hardest things. And I'm aware of that, my brothers and sisters. But when you keep telling people to move to the exit point, when you keep saying it's not our exodus will not happen at the blink of an eye, and people stay in hurricane-ridden areas, people stay in flood zones, people stay in tornado alleys, people stay where conditions are not favorable for remaining, and then things happen. I had a sister ask me, well, do you not feel for people who have become victims, who have lost loved ones in these terrible conditions? Even for those that are not in the Western Hemisphere, I said, begin to discern and move towards the borders of the country they're in that's closest towards the promised land. But yet we don't see Yashar'al gathering together closer to one another as of yet. But when things happen to people, it would be wise for us to realize we cannot become overly consumed if we're telling people to move closer to a safe place. That safe place is in the direction in which the Almighty Father is establishing and has established. Yashar'al, I want you to have a discussion on things that make you joyous and sad. Here are some things to consider. And it is important. Sometimes we just react, but we will find the need to manage our emotions to be very important. The birth of a child or children. Are we happy? Are we sad? Are we consumed by our emotions? The death of a loved one. How many days will we mourn that death? How many minutes, hours? How much time will we mourn the death of a loved one? And will it prohibit us from working? Would it prohibit us from loving those that are still alive? Would it deflect from seeking to grow continuously and walk strong in the spirit of set apartness? Gaining something desired. Do we become so joyous that we forget about others? That we neglect other things because we're so happy that we got something that we really wanted? Losing something important. Do we spend a lot of time looking and searching for the things that are lost, or even people that are lost? I submit to you, my brothers, that out of all the different things that affect how we manage emotions, sometimes curiosity can be an influencing factor as well. Remember Lot's wife and what happened to her. Could her emotions have played a part in her death? Was she sad and yet curious? The scriptures tell us, like in the days of Noah, in the days of Lot, so will it be during the days when the Son of Man return, or towards his return. Let's look at these words, O Yashar'al. Luke 17, verse 26 to 30. It said, it came to be as in the days of Noah, so also shall it be in the days of the son of Adam. They were eating, they were drinking, they were marrying, they were given in marriage until the day that Noah went into the ark and the flood came and destroyed them all. Now ask yourself, were they so happy and so joyous they was unaware of the realities of what was taking place? How do you think they felt as rain came down, as the flood waters rose? How do you think they felt? You think they were still joyous? Their joy turned into sadness, some probably into anger as they tried to get to high ground to avoid death. How many of us, when we realize it, say in the days of Noah, so shall it be? It said, and likewise it came to be in the days of Lot, 28th verse. They were eating, they were drinking, they were buying, they were selling, they were planting, they were building. But on the day Lot went out of Sodom, it rained fire and sulfur from heaven and destroyed all. It shall be the same in the day of Son of Adam is revealed. So, my brother, my sister, we read these verses and we tend to be so detached from the realities of what is happening before us. Let us take time to examine one another's ability as it relates to managing emotions, knowing how to be used by the Spirit of Yahusha to help guide someone through their time of sorrow and sadness. Help guide someone when they are overjoyed, to bring balance. You see, managing emotions is important. There's a lot of work to be done. Some people are so happy and so joyous, they're not even paying attention to what they're supposed to be doing. But as the Almighty Father states in Revelation 3:19, I discipline those whom I love. We will begin to recognize as discipline comes, not to become angry, not to be wanting to fight and offer excuses up. But when discipline and correction come, yield to it. There are things that we witness. I've witnessed things that were wicked. And there was weeping and crying. And it can easily play on your emotions and suck you in to be distracted from hearing what the voice of the Spirit of Yahusha is saying. Take time to examine one another's abilities. You see, sometimes a person may have had a bad day, and because they don't know how to manage their emotions, take it out on their wife, or the wife on the husband, or on the children, or on the neighbors, or take it out on those you interact with when you're going about your day-to-day business. Yashar'al, Yashar'al. Again, I'm not promoting to be insensitive, but I am strongly saying have conversations about managing the emotions. Know when to navigate beyond the emotions that just overly consuming you. The realities of end time will soon set in, and we will discover why it's important to grow to manage our emotions, how to move on, how to press forward, how to focus, lest we find ourselves overly consumed. Have discussions regarding managing emotions. Discover how to remove or come away from the weights and distractions caused by emotions. Soon, Yashar'al, soon we will begin to have that sense of urgency and recognize there's so much work to be done. Soon, the death toll on this planet would increase in great magnitude, and there will be loved ones among us. Soon, there will be leaders who are pursuing their own agenda, their own egos, leaders who are propping themselves up over Yahusha, that will face discipline, and some of these leaders among Yashar'al will face sickness that will bring them to correction at a point in time, and some will face sickness unto death. Be prepared to witness those who you looked at as pastors and priests and bishops and leaders, those who stepped out of bounds and wanted to elevate themselves over Yahusha, prepared to witness their demise. For soon the obstacles that stand in the way of us seeing what we're supposed to see and do will face the refinement, and many will actually die. Let us be careful, Yashar'al, that in our managing emotions, we don't put them over Yahusha. Consider the realities, my brothers and sisters. My slides got off. Consider the realities and abilities. Know when to help encourage someone. Help one another get through. This might seem like I'm being redundant, and it might seem like something that's not important. But pray and watch, O Yashar'al. Our emotions will be challenged. When we see those that will be left behind, have these discussions, my brothers and sisters. Discover how to remove or come away from weights and distractions caused by emotional challenges. I'm almost done. You might think this message didn't make any sense to you right now. But as we find challenges hit our doorsteps, challenges along the way as we start movement. Some cases we're going to need to hurry up. We're not going to have time to say, well, give me time. I'm mourning my mother, my brother, my sister, my son or daughter. Give me time. We don't control time, my brothers and sisters. There will be times when we will have to say there is no time to mourn and be still. Discussions reveal people's position and priorities. Know what to expect and respond wisely. Minimize the shock and awe by having some discussions and talking about emotions. End times will prove that managing emotions is on our daily to-do list. And I don't say these words lightly, my brothers and sisters. But soon and very soon, there will be a shaking up, a stirring up, a gathering up. And how we manage and govern ourselves will be of grave importance. Managing emotions. Though this message seemed to be redundant, or one you didn't need to listen to, if you listened to it from beginning to end, consider it as drips of water that will make sense as things become more intense. The Spirit of Yahusha will bring to your remembrance the need to manage these emotions, the need for us to press into what He's asking and ordering of us. On that note, my brothers and sisters, I thank you for your patience, your pursuit of set apartness. I pray that you can see that the need to manage emotions will become more and more critical as severe challenges arise. I thank you for taking the patience to listen to this message. No matter how repetitive it may seem, in due season, the reason why it reached your ears will be made clear. Stay tuned, O Yashar'al. Thanks again. There's more to come in this series. End Time Manifest. There are a lot of details and processes that must be considered. There are a lot of things we must take under consideration and be mindful of that the Almighty Father will make known to us. Pray, discern, and seek to understand. On that note, I will end by saying, Shalum to you, my brother, my sister, my family. Be encouraged. Our redemption is drawing near.